Hi, my name is Alexander D'Agostino. I'm an interdisciplinary artist based out of Baltimore, Maryland. I went to school at the Maryland Institute College of Art where I studied painting and graduated in 2009. Since then, I have been working in the realm of performance art, dance, and visual arts. During the pandemic, around mid-2020, I started exploring cyanotypes and alternative processes of printing and making images. And that has been the thing I have been pursuing for the past 4+ years, really, is telling stories through this printmaking process, exploring mythology, queer history, and my own sort of approach to myth-making and storytelling. Most of the work I do starts as research inquiry. I live and love libraries. I love libraries. I think they're the best places in the world. Whenever I have curiosity about an idea, the first place I'll go will be like the Enoch Pratt Library in Baltimore. It's incredible, and it just lets my brain start to pick up images and content. And that's the stuff that I will gather, whether I take pictures with my smartphone or get like a high resolution scan from microfilm. That's the stuff that I tend to use to make my collages that turn into prints. I'll also use the internet. It's such an easy resource to get the visual information you want. And then I also will gather images from my own living environment, my studio space, the city I live in, and it turns into this visual language that I will build both through digital platforms like Photoshop, but also make my own hand cut out collages. And those I will tend to scan, and that's what ends up becoming the imagery that I make negatives and sometimes positives with to print the prints I do. Again, most of the work I do is using cyanotypes and other solar reactive vat dyes on fabric, but I've also work on paper and I've been printing on leaves as well. It's all about using light and shadow and kind of alchemical processes to create the work that gives it this sort of ghostly quality. A huge component of my research practice is how I invent mythology, how I practice ritual, how I explore folklore and queer or marginalized histories. So I feel like creating these prints, they become shrouds themselves of these memories that I'm kind of chasing after. So my current exhibition, An Index of Fire, is a visual survey of book burning throughout history, not just contemporary ones, but going all the way to the ancient world, early modern world, all the way through the mid-century, and then up to current moments in the USA where we're seeing politicians burning books that they don't agree with or that they think are promoting sexual deviancy or the transgender ideologies. Always focusing on that kind of aspect of queer history and the way that queer people are scrutinized, and there tends to be a cycle in history right after we've kind of emerged and found ourselves that we then get kind of pushed under the rug or persecuted or demonized or used as a political pawn for a kind of insidious intention you're seeing right now in the US. So this show itself, I call it an Index of Fire because I had a stack of books that my cat destroyed, and instead of throwing them away, I kept them outside on my spooky altar for about a year so they could kind of get all rotten with the elements. And then later this past summer, I burned them all. And those ashes I mixed with water to create a soda ash that I then used to reduce or bleach the cyanotypes that you see. So they started blue and then they get turned into this kind of yellowy orange color, and then I stained them again with Lipton's black tea, and it created this sort of charred look of the prints that you see here before you. And so I pulled a lot of my images just through searching online and then searching through my own sources for various images of book burnings. Some of the more contemporary ones I simply found on social media that had been posted as recently as 2024. So when you come to this exhibition, you're going to see a lot of different images. Like this piece right here, May 10th, 1933. They're images of the Nazi book burning that happened World War II, we know about this. A lot of the content that was burned in this big public spectacle was from the Magnus Hirschfeld Institute of Sexology, and you'll see a few images of those. That was, essentially a center for people who were seeking gender-affirming healthcare, people who were looking to learn to embrace and understand aspects of their sexuality or gender that wasn't necessarily supported in mainstream society. And then eventually that became an un-German thing. So the Nazi Party sent Hitler's youth into this institute. They raided it, they took all the books along with thousands of other anti-German books and burned them in a big spectacle. So that's sort of the book burning incident that we think of generally when we think of book burning. But you'll also see images of book burnings that happened in the United States in 2022 when a conservative pastor in Tennessee held a big book burning event to burn books like Twilight, to burn Harry Potter books, and to burn other occult content. So that was one image that I thought was sort of interesting, and you'll see that throughout the timeline that I've created. You're also going to see images from kind of biblical stories of books being burned, whether it was books of astrology, books of heresy, anything that kind of went against the status quo. And then you're gonna see some more insidious content. One of the pieces has taken printouts from Project 2025, specifically the text that focuses on criminalizing the dissemination of pornography or gender ideology or work that explores sexuality. You see this language right now that's being used to essentially criminalize conversations about sex and gender. And so I took that document, made prints of it, and burned that up, and then layered that over the other textiles I've been printing for years. Underneath all of the prints that you'll see here, you can peel them up and you'll be able to look and see more colorful textiles. These were the first queer shrouds I created from an archive of vintage gay pornography, which itself is a content that becomes controversial in the art world or just in general in the world. And so I personally find the imagery to be beautiful and compelling, and I love the idea that I'm taking something that an individual had hidden most of his life and was discovered after his death by a family member that inherited the house he lived in. And I started using those images to create these textiles, and that's always going to be in the work I do. There'll be this kind of undercurrent of this collection of vintage gay porn. I don't necessarily think it's for the sake of pursuing erotic pleasure or just to look at porn for the sake of pornography, but I think the images themselves become beautiful and they become kind of an important reminder about the agency of art and our ability to have free speech in this country. And then I think that layering them over images of book burns was an intentional way to speak to the kind of erasure of gender and sexual nonconformity throughout history. I really hope that when visitors come here, they take away a lot of new information. Just the visual content itself, I think when you first look at some of the prints, it almost is abstract, and then the more you look at it, you start to see these images of book burnings throughout history. I want people to feel inspired to speak out against censorship and banning that's happening in this country right now. I want people to understand that this isn't just World War II Nazi thing. It's been happening forever. It continues to happen. But I also want people to know that, as much as book burning is this terrifying, horrible thing, that because we have the internet, because we have print presses and we can print and mass produce books, book burnings are spectacles. They are kind of chaotic and problematic events, but they themselves can never stop information. They can't stop people from being who they are. So I hope when people look at this, they start to piece together the moments of history that reveal that the human spirit will always kind of rise against persecution, and that we have to use art to continue to tell these stories. My future plans as an artist are to honestly continue to follow my curiosity. So this is my third exhibition of this year, and I've pursued a lot of different subjects, and I think it's led me to continue my love for books. So I feel like after this exhibition is taken down, I'm gonna work on developing like a published artist book of this exhibition and continue to do my research. I focus a lot on magic and the queer history of magic. So this year I plan to kind of dive deeper into some of the archival research I've been doing with old manuscripts of magic and making art from that. So keep your eyes peeled.